Boom shakalaka. How many Bitcoin do you need to retire? The answer may darn well surprise you. Stay tuned. What's up everyone, Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's video, we're taking a look at how many Bitcoin you actually need to retire. And the best news of all is that this is actually wrong. And we're going to take a look at the correct answer for how many Bitcoin you need to retire. Before we get into it, guys, like the video, come join us on Twitter at @CryptoLove, and of course, subscribe to the Most Awesome channel. Now, you're taking a look at this and you're trying to figure out exactly how many Bitcoin you need to scrap together right now so that you can retire as soon as possible. And we'll get into this chart in a while. But before this chart existed, it was kind of difficult to figure this stuff out because you'd have to think about, well, you know, if Bitcoin keeps on going up in the same way it's been going up and it's the top of the cycle and I sell then, I'm able to buy at the bottom, and then how much am I going to need to retire because I don't even track my expenses and I have no idea and I never used a budget. But it's probably going to be something like, I don't know, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, because in order to have a Lamborghini and a sweet house and buy bottle service every time I go out and all this other stuff, it's kind of confusing. But interestingly enough, we do have the answer for you coming up, and this answer is wrong, and we're going to take a look at exactly why. But to begin with, I mean, you can estimate, you can take a look at stuff like the Bitcoin Pi cycle top chart, and you can say, well, you know, based on this cycle, we could be seeing a Bitcoin going somewhere 200 to maybe $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 this cycle. And then after that, who knows, maybe $1 million or more per Bitcoin. Or you could also take a look at the Pi cycle top indicator and saying, well, we're not anywhere near the top, so it's got to go up a lot higher from where it is right now. It's at almost $70,000 right now. It's got to go way up. And you can take a look at other charts like this, like CBBI.info, and say, again, we're only like 70% confident we're at the top. There's still a lot of upward room. But then there's this awesome chart put together by APSK32 on Twitter saying that in the 2030s, you could retire and support your family with just 2 Bitcoin. And that, while that may be a lot of Bitcoin for some people, for other people, it may be like, wow, only 2 Bitcoin. I mean, right now, that's less than $140,000. That's less than many houses that people are living in. That's probably the same as some cars you might be driving. So let's take a look at the math behind this to figure out how he figured this out. And then we're going to do the most awesome thing afterwards and debunk it and show that he's wrong and you actually need a different number, which we'll share with you shortly afterwards. Now, if we take a look right here, APSK32 takes a look at median U.S. family income, and that kind of goes up somewhat steadily. Right now, somewhere around maybe like $90,000-ish area. And then we take a look at Bitcoin's price. We all know that logarithmic regression for Bitcoin. And taking a look at the quantity of Bitcoin needed to retire with the median US family income. Now, this is based on the theory, the 4% rule, that if you spend 4% of your assets in your initial year of retirement and then adjust for inflation each year going forward, you will be unlikely to run out of money. That's right, because you will only ever spend the principal minus inflation and you'll never run out of money. And then you'll die with a whole bunch of money left over that you can give to your children when you're 60-something on average, the age of inheritance for your children, so they'll get it long after they actually need the money. So all that stuff being said, based on this chart, which takes a look at the 4% of quantity times the price, right now, where we are in 2024, you would need somewhere around 52 Bitcoin. So that's a lot of Bitcoin. But if you take a look, after this, it drops dramatically. 2028, another 4 years, only 12.5 Bitcoin. And then 2032, 4.9 Bitcoin. And then 2036, 2.29 Bitcoin. And at that point, it's pretty much halving every 4 years. So you could extrapolate this data to say, hey, 2040, only 16 years from now, you would only need 1 Bitcoin. So essentially, if you spent $70,000 now, you could be set by 20 to retire for you and for your family based on a median US family income in 2040, which is probably a lot better than a lot of other people are doing. But this is interesting enough because 2036, 2.29 Bitcoin, well, that's pretty freaking awesome. But it turns out that this is actually wrong. And here's why. It's based upon the theory of the 4% rule, which, yes, if you stockpile money and you only spend 4%, you'll never run out of it. But at the end of your life, you'll have a whole bunch of money left over. Now you can give that to your children, but like I said before, they're already going to be in their 60s by the time they inherit it, long after they need the money, or you can leave it some trust or whatever else you're going to do with it. But essentially, all of that money is wasted. And by wasting that money, you've wasted your life working to earn that money to buy that Bitcoin so that you could have that giant nest egg. Now, this is all based, I didn't come up with this stuff, just to be honest. This is all based from a book called How to Die, or it's called Die with Zero. But he wrote an article, How to Die with Zero. A really good book. I forget the guy who wrote the book, Bill Perkins. There we go. Die with Zero is the name of the book. The author is Bill Perkins. He's an engineer, and he says, essentially, that if you have money left over when you die, you've wasted your life. And there's a lot of people who are like, but I want to give my money to your kids. And it's like, fine, do it when they need it in their 20s and 30s, maybe their 40s. Don't leave it to them after they die when they're already 60. They don't need the money then. They can't even use it at that point. So I highly recommend reading or listening to that book. Very interesting, changes the whole entire mindset. But now that we know that having money left over when you die is just plain stupid, well then what's the actual number? And it turns out that the actual number is right here, which is 0.7 times the cost to live 1 year times the years left to live, which essentially would be 0.7 times this number right here, if my quick math holds. And based on that, you would only in 2036 need 1.6 Bitcoin, which right now, roughly $108,000. $100,000 right now, and you could retire in 12 years. That's pretty freaking awesome. So, if you enjoyed it, like the video, come join us on Twitter at @TheCryptoLove. Subscribe, and also YouTube thinks you should check out that video right there, and I tend to agree. Have a good one. Love you. Peace.
If you don't think Bitcoin's going to $1 million a coin and then $10 million a coin, you're already a loser.
From now on, if you don't own Bitcoin, you're a moron.